and in today's tutorial, it happens to be the continuation on the course, all right, CSS343. CSS343, and today we are going to be talking about a system. Okay, when we talk about a system, what are we referring to? All right, and I'm going to be looking at this in detail. In our last class, we looked at some terminologies, all right, considering types of viruses and the likes, and we talked about encryption. Okay, so in line with that, we're going to be looking at what it means by a system. Okay, so now just a moment. When we talk about a system, what are we referring to? All right, now a system is said to be a collection, okay, a collection of components, a collection of components, okay, a collection of components that work together, okay. This collection work together, working together, all right, to achieve. And simply put, what are we referring to? We are simply talking about, all right, we are simply talking about what we call a system here. What makes a system looks perfect and effective is as a result of one thing, and that thing is that the subsystems are working effectively. If the subsystem fails, the system automatically fails as well. We can compare the anatomy of human body to a system, all right? The body is made up of composition or components, different parts, the arm, the leg, the eye, the nose, the mouth, all right? Different parts of the body makes the human body, okay? And if one part of the body fails to work, all right, would you refer to that person as complete? No, we refer to them as physically challenged persons. So when we now talk about a system is a system, all right, based on the fact that the subunit or subsystem of that system is effective. And that's why we say that we are talking about the all right, the collection of components. All right, these components need to work together. Have you heard of the saying that says a system is not better or a unit is not better than its weakest point? Right? For every slight weakness in every system or unit will automatically amount to the failure of that system. Let's say, for example, now whenever we are in the management meeting, all right, management don't say it is the production department that failed. Management don't say it is the accounting department that failed. Management don't say it is the HR that is not doing its job. Management will say more food as a whole has failed. Management will not be particular about one department, all right, in the sense that as a company, whether production, accounting, sales, administration, everybody has to work together to move the company forward, all right. So it's not the thing of production unit is doing well, we are doing our own best, is the fault is from the accounting department. No, all right. In a system, every department must put in the effort, working together collectively to achieve their objective. Okay, So we have that as that. So we have basic system components. In a system, the different components are connected. Okay? In a system, the major components are connected with each other and they are independent. Okay? So the arm can work. What are we trying to say? In as much as the production department needs the the finance department, it does not mean that without the finance department, production department cannot work. It doesn't mean that without your hands, your legs can't work. In as much as they need each other, they also work independently. In the sense that, in as much as they work independently, they still need to work together as a whole to achieve the organization goal. So that's how it works. Okay. So we have that as that. Now let's talk about the system life cycle. Okay. Now, when we talk about the system life cycle, all right, we are simply referring to an organizational process of developing, all right, an organizational process of developing and maintaining a system, an organizational process. All right, we're talking about the different processes involved in ensuring, all right, developing and maintaining a system. They refer to that as a system what life cycle. Okay, now under this we have different phases of system development life cycle. All right, don't forget we talk about the development and maintenance. So when we talk about system life cycle, there are certain things we must talk about. Okay, so let's quickly consider the different phases. Okay, let's consider the different phases in what we refer to as system life cycle. All right, so we have that as that. Now let's there are quite a lot of steps, all right, a lot of phases here, but let's just take it one step at a time. Okay, now the very first stage or first phase we have here is called the preliminary. Okay, the preliminary phase. Now when we talk about the preliminary phase, what are we referring to? Okay, the preliminary phase, what are we referring to when we talk about the preliminary phase? Now, this phase also is followed by the feasibility, the detailed, systematic design, coding, testing, implementation, and maintenance. So let's see how we can take this one step at a time. Let's touch on all of this very quickly. Okay, now we have the phases. Now, the first one is the preliminary system study. When we talk about the preliminary system study, we are simply referring to the study, all right? The system study is the first stage of system development life cycle. Okay? It is a brief investigation of the system under consideration. Don't forget, we're talking about the system development life cycle. All right, a system development life cycle. So under this, we have the very first phase, which is the preliminary system. Okay, I think we're back now. The network, I think it's stable now. So as I was saying before, we were abruptly interrupted by the service provider. Now it says system study is the very first phase, all right, or the first stage of system development. All right, very first stage of system development life cycle. And trust me, this stage, all right, is where investigation. Don't forget, you want to develop the life cycle of a system. So it is very necessary for you to carry out certain investigations. All right, gather information during this process of investigation. Okay, you are expected to gather certain information, and you can only achieve that through this investigation process. All right, investigation of the system under consideration. So you investigate investigation of the system under observation. Then we also have the feasibility study. All right, feasibility study is more practical. All right, this is where you go into the markets. You go into the markets. All right, when I say go into the market, you conduct a one-on-one, a physical, all right, study. You're going to be very intentional and particular about your audience, and you begin to go, all right, into where they are to gather every necessary intel you can lay your hands on. And we have that as that. Now, let's take a step further. We also have, excuse me, we also have the detailed study system. So we've done the first one. The second one is the feasibility. Okay, feasibility study. Then the next one is the detailed system study. All right, detailed system study. Now I talked about this feasibility study. I said here, all right, you test the proposed system. Okay, here you test the proposed system. You want to know how well it works. Then the detailed system study is where the detailed investigation of the system is carried out in accordance with the objective. Like it says, detailed, so it's more of detailed investigation here. Okay, so we have that as that. All right. Now, we also have the system study. All right. Then after the system study, we have, now this system study is the most crucial phase. All right. Here, logical system design arrives at a result of system analysis is covered. All right. It's converted into the physical system design. Now, this design, this system design has a lot to do, okay? Because just like we have our research work as well, or do your research design has a long way to do with a lot of things to do with your research as well. Because in the research design, you get to know what works and what doesn't work. You get to know what you are dropping and what you are moving on with. Okay, so we have that as that. Now, under this research design, it's even split into two. All right, there's a general design and there's a detailed design. All right, there's a general and there's a detailed. Like it says, general design is general. All right, now here, general design, whereby the features of the new styles are specified. The cost implementing these features and the benefits are also specified. All right, but when it comes to detailed design, all right, here we are talking about detailed structuring, where you use several tools and techniques, all right, like the flow chart, the data flow, dictionary, structured English, decision tree, a lot of processes just to further break down, all right, the execution of your system. So we have that as that. Now let's proceed. Now there's something called data acquisition. Okay, data acquisition. Now, when we say data acquisition, it deals with the generation and the storage of data in order to monitor activities. All right, generate and monitor. It deals with the generation and the monitoring. All right, generation and storage of data. All right, generation and storage first. Generation and storage of data purpose for monitoring, all right, from monitoring activities, all right, data acquisition. Data should be stored to ensure that they maintain accuracy and allow easy access, retrieval, and manipulation. Now, the volume of data to be acquired and stored is dictated by the size and the level, all right, is dictated by the size and by the level of that organization, all right, by the size and the level of ambition of the monitoring network, all right, all depends on what you want per se. So we have that as that. All right, now let's proceed. So, in as much as we acquire data, we also need to be, all right, we also need to consider what we refer to as data handling. Okay, you've acquired the data, all right, what about how you handle this data? It's also very, very important. Now we'll talk about data handling. What are we referring to? Okay, now when we say data handling, we are simply talking about how well you use the data you have collected, all right, how well do you use it? Now, it covers the analysis and the transformation of data into information, data handling. All right, it covers all activities involved in analyzing and transforming of this data into information that you can now make use of. So we have that as that. So we are going to call it wrap here for today. And in our next class, we'll be talking about statistical information. Okay, statistical information. I think by the end of this week, we should be almost done with this course. If we are not done yet, actually, but we should be almost done with the course. All right. So I'm going to give us an assignment so that we can take home something more. Now, for those of us who are new to the stream, please let's ensure to subscribe to the channel. All right. Let's also ensure to smash the like button. All right. Subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, enroll into our private class where we walk you through all your courses. All right. So we have assignment. What do you understand by data and information? Okay. Explain with not less than 100 words what you understand by data and information. Thank you very much, everyone. I believe you have been able to gain something in today's class. Let's ensure to submit our notes to the appropriate quarters and also our assignments as well. Do have a wonderful evening and bye for now.